Security alert. Microsoft has released a massive batch of fixes tackling over 100 vulnerabilities across its Windows operating systems and various software products as part of the August 2025 Patch Tuesday update. But here's where it gets controversial. At least 13 of these security holes have been classified as critical. This means that malicious actors could potentially exploit them to remotely take control of a Windows machine without needing much, if any, user involvement. The implications for both individuals and organizations are serious and demand prompt attention. Among the most alarming flaws patched this month is CVE 2025-53786, a vulnerability that poses a severe danger to enterprises relying on Microsoft Exchange servers. This flaw allows attackers who manage to compromise an Exchange server to then jump directly into the broader cloud environment connected to it. In practical terms, this means someone exploiting this bug could gain unauthorized control over Exchange Online and other Microsoft Office 365 services tied to the organization's cloud infrastructure. Microsoft first publicized this vulnerability on August 6, 2025, warning that it affects Exchange Server Editions 2016, 2019, and the newer Exchange Server Subscription Edition. Ben McCarthy, the lead cybersecurity engineer at Immersive, uncovered a startling statistic through a quick search. Roughly 29,000 Exchange servers are publicly accessible over the Internet and remain vulnerable to this issue. And many of these servers likely harbor even older, unpatched vulnerabilities, widening the threat landscape further. McCarthy emphasizes that simply applying the patch alone isn't enough. Administrators must also follow Microsoft's detailed manual steps to set up a dedicated service that governs the hybrid connection, effectively locking down that critical attack surface. McCarthy explains, this vulnerability amplifies the impact of a localized Exchange breach, transforming it into a sprawling cloud compromise that's much harder to detect. It leverages sophisticated living-off-the-land techniques, attacks using legitimate system tools, which complicate efforts by defenders to spot malicious activity. This is the part most people miss when reading about this flaw, the ease with which it elevates an on-premises breach into a stealthy cloud invasion. Another major headline flaw this month is CVE 2025-53779. Discovered and analyzed by Akamai researcher Yuval Gordon and labeled Bad Successor. This vulnerability exists within Windows Kerberos authentication mechanism and enables an unauthenticated attacker to escalate privileges all the way up to domain administrator level. The weakness targets a feature introduced in Windows Server 2025 called the Delegated Managed Service Account, DMSA, which was designed to streamline service management but instead opened a dangerous backdoor. In addition, Microsoft patched several critical remote code execution vulnerabilities, scoring between 9.0 and 9.9 on the CVSS severity scale. Notably, CVE 2025-53766 and CVE 2025-50165 both involve vulnerabilities within the Windows GDI Plus graphics rendering component. There's also CVE 2025-53733, a particularly worrying bug in Microsoft Word that hackers can exploit without any user involvement simply by having a malicious document show up in the preview pane. We can't overlook CVE 2025-53778, a severe flaw impacting Windows NTLM, a fundamental protocol Windows uses for network authentication. Microsoft warns that even low-level network access combined with basic user privileges could let attackers exploit NTLM to gain full system-level access, the highest possible authority on a Windows system. What makes this bug striking is Microsoft's assessment that exploitation is more likely, although so far there's no evidence it's being actively used in the wild. If you hit any snags while installing these crucial patches, don't hesitate to share your experiences in the comments. Your feedback could help others. For a comprehensive breakdown of these updates sorted by severity and CVSS score, the SANS Internet Storm Center offers an invaluable resource. Meanwhile, AskWoody.com is tracking any reports of problematic Windows patches causing headaches for end users and businesses alike. Now, shifting gears to something many Windows 10 users dread but can't ignore. Microsoft's push to migrate everyone to Windows 11. Starting after the Patch Tuesday update on October 14, 2025, Windows 10 will no longer receive free security updates from Microsoft. That's a harsh deadline for millions of PCs worldwide. But here's the catch. Many Windows 10 computers don't meet the hardware requirements needed to upgrade to Windows 11, or they only barely qualify. History warns us about what this means. Just as with Windows XP in the past, countless older PCs might end up discarded as electronic waste or forced to run unsupported and unpatched systems, posing a serious security risk. But there is a silver lining if you want to keep using your aging hardware securely. Installing a beginner-friendly Linux distribution, such as Linux Mint, can breathe new life into those machines. Linux Mint, like many current Linux versions, requires minimal hardware, a 64-bit processor, and at least 2 GB of RAM, though 4 GB is ideal. Most computers made in the past 10 years fit the bill. This operating system offers a user interface that Windows users find familiar and intuitive, without requiring deep command line skills. Plus, Mint and similar Linux variants come bundled with LibreOffice, a powerful open-source office suite capable of opening, editing, and saving Microsoft Office documents. If you're hesitant to replace Windows altogether, you can try Linux Mint without installation by running it from a bootable USB drive. By restarting your computer with this USB stick plugged in and selecting it as the boot source, usually accessible by pressing F8 during startup, you can test drive the operating system. The beauty of this live mode is that none of your changes are permanent. Restarting returns your system exactly to its previous state, so there's no risk of breaking anything on your main setup. Here's a bit of food for thought. With Microsoft's accelerated push away from Windows 10 and the steep hardware requirements for Windows 11, is it time to reconsider what we want from our desktop OS? Can Linux Mint or other open-source systems realistically replace Windows for everyday users, or will most people reluctantly upgrade or remain stuck with outdated, vulnerable systems? Share your thoughts below. Do you think Microsoft's strategy is fair and secure? Or is it forcing many users into an unfair corner? Remember, staying informed and acting promptly is your best defense in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity. Don't wait until the next breach makes headlines.